Hey there, Jordan with Status Coup. Hope everybody had a nice Memorial Day weekend and is doing well in these trying times. It is Wednesday, June 1st. The year is 2022. Delighted to be joined by Steve Grumbine of Real Progressives. With that background, it's hard to tell if he is in kind of a underground Oath Keepers video, or is a Sean Hannity kind of patriot, or like I don't know, Led Zeppelin, heavy metal kind of. We'll leave it up to chance. Double K, Double K, without a word out of our mouths. $49.99. Thank you so much, Double K. I appreciate it. Steve, how was your weekend?
It was not bad at all, man. How was yours? You were out there living La Vida Loco. I was busy dealing with kids, man.
Well, before we're going to get to, we got heavy duty news. Number one, I have a slight tear in my ACL. So that sucks. It's painful to walk. I have a cast on. Luckily, I don't need to get surgery, but this cast itches after, hours of wearing it. And I had to drive yesterday 6 hours back from a wedding in Rhode Island, and then to pick up my dog who was staying at my parents' on Long Island. So with traffic coming back from Memorial Day, I was on the road for 7 hours with a bum leg. So that was fun, but was at a nice wedding in Rhode Island, my wife's friend. It was nice to kind of change the scenery, all that. And we had a nice time. But unfortunately, a lot of people aren't having a good time. Uvalde and that community is still reeling. So we'll have an update on, I don't know, if what is that saying? If it quacks like a duck. It really stinks of a cover up here. And although you and I last week, not so much disagreed, but obviously I might be a little more focused on the gun aspect than you. We're already seeing nothing's going to happen. So we'll talk about that. We also have what I'm calling fly at your own fucking risk airlines, because now, for a variety of reasons, there's a pilot shortage while there's a massive increase in demand for flights. And some of that pilot shortage has to do with layoffs that went on during the pandemic. Other reasons might be because we silently have a major COVID wave that the media is ignoring. So we're going to get into that. We also have the media is painting rosy economic numbers, but you and I were talking that this is actually the calm before the storm. So we'll talk about that. And lastly, one of my favorite topics, Shark Tank scumbag, Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary. We're going to go through memory lane of Kevin O'Leary taking from the government before telling the government not to give to working people, before then saying it's immoral if student loan debt is canceled. So we have a lot to discuss. Everybody smash that like button, share this live stream. We'll start with what's going on in Uvalde, which it's been over a week, but if you pay attention to the media, they're already starting to sprinkle back in other things. Listen, I haven't paid attention whatsoever to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I know nothing about it. But I'm sorry, in most other countries, if 19 kids just got killed at a school, nothing else would be on TV for a while. And I was just watching on CNN. They had for an hour Johnny Depp and the defamation verdict and all this stuff. So that kind of tells you where things are headed as far as this quickly moving out of the news cycle. But Colin, if we have the article, Uvalde Police School District no longer cooperating with Texas probe of shooting. The Uvalde Police Department and the Uvalde Independent School District Police Force are no longer cooperating with the Texas Department of Public Safety's investigation into the massacre at Robb Elementary. The Uvalde police chief and a spokesperson for the Uvalde Independent School District didn't respond, blah, blah, blah. According to sources, the decision to stop cooperating occurred soon after the director of DPS, Colonel Stephen McGraw, held a news conference Friday during which he said the delayed police entry into the classroom was the wrong decision and contrary to protocol. I dug into that press conference on Friday because that Texas public safety official contradicted himself 7 ways to Sunday. And, reached by ABC, a spokesperson for the Texas public safety said the Uvalde Police Department and Uvalde CISD have been cooperating. The chief of the Uvalde police provided an initial interview, but has not responded. Okay, now let's show you the rare clip where a CNN reporter aggressively confronts a powerful official. Let's play this.
I want to talk to you about your decision and what the DPS director said.
How's it going?
Good, I'm Pete. Nice to
Matt
meet you.
Freeman, nice to
I
meet
want
you.
to talk to you about the decision and what
Department we're doing, but just to let y'all know, and I just spoke with
I know you did, but
you're not blocking me, are you?
no.
No,
Matt,
no.
Turn this way.
No, just so y'all know. Just so you all know, obviously, we're not going to release anything. We have people in our community being buried, so we're going to be respectful.
I just want your reaction
we're gonna
to
be
the director McGraw
we're gonna,
saying that you were responsible for the decision
right.
to go into that room. How do you explain yourself to the
We're going to be
parents?
respectful to the family.
I understand that, but you have an opportunity
to
explain yourself to the parents.
And just so you know, we're gonna do that eventually, obviously.
When?
And whenever this is done, and let the families quit grieving, then we'll do that, obviously. And just so everybody
feels.
knows, we've been in contact with DPS every day. Just so you all know.
They say
Every day.
that you're not cooperating.
I've been on the phone with them every day.
They say you're not cooperating. So just 2 seconds.
Just so you know, we've been talking to them every day.
What
I
is your reaction?
Y'all have a good day.
What is your reaction, sir?
So that was a CNN reporter confronting. That was the they have a special school district police unit, which is independent, I guess, of the regular police. But that was the commanding officer there, who apparently made the decision that it was no longer an active shooting because they no longer heard gunshots, which I don't really believe that's what happened. I don't think most smart people, I don't want to speculate. There's a lot of speculation going on about what happened, including did they accidentally shoot kids, which is possible. We don't know. But a few things stood out to me about that, Steve. Number one, I have never seen a CNN reporter confront a politician that aggressively. So it just shows you the media is allowed to hold the powerful accountable if it's, about 19 kids being killed. Like, no donor or corporation is really going to suffer that much if you confront police on incompetence or, worse. But it's interesting that you're really seeing aggressive reporting on this, which you should. I mean, credit to the reporter. But I never see that when Nancy Pelosi's giving a press conference, Mitch McConnell, Biden, Trump, you name it. So it shows you the selective journalistic aggressiveness. In this case, the most aggressive reporter actually was from Sky News in the UK, confronting Ted Cruz a couple days after this horrible massacre, basically saying, it's the guns. Why does this only happen in America? And Ted Cruz was very flustered and was like, well, I'm sorry you don't believe in American exceptionalism, to the reporter. But it really stood out to me that, why is it that you never see this kind of aggressive reporting? But putting that aside, obviously, if they're not cooperating, there is this kind of, silent, what do they call it? The blue wall of cops,
Yeah.
whether in a city or in America. And if somebody made a mistake, which it could very possibly be, the police fucked up in the beginning of this, maybe accidentally, while they were exchanging fire with the gunman at first, hit some of the children. That's why this commanding officer was so careful to the point of inaction for over an hour. So that could be it. But it seems to me the blue wall of silence is getting in here, and that wouldn't happen unless there was something to cover up.
No, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how I'm trying not to get hyperbolic here, but it's hard. You look at how many African Americans are shot through the wall without even thinking twice about it. Young people, kids. I'm thinking about children with toy guns getting gunned down by police. And here we've got 19 kids locked in there with a shooter, and they sit back and wait for him to finish unloading his guns on the kids. I definitely don't want to spark any hot takes out of this. It's too serious to screw around with hot takes. But it doesn't take much to realize that this is like an absurdly rare occasion where the police waited, where they didn't storm the Bastille, where they didn't go in there with their SWAT and jackboots and everything else, kicking doors in and devil may care. And here we go, 19 kids die, two adults. I don't want to forget about the adults. They matter too. But it is interesting that you see the police for once in their lives, and all I can think of is they were cowards. They were scared. They didn't know what to do, so they did nothing. For once in their lives, and all I can think of is they were cowards. They were.
Also, the other element here is the media. The media is very focused on the play-by-play and the cover-up, right? And they should be. They should be. I'm not saying that. Obviously, like you're saying, this is a very unusual situation. You usually see cops acting too quickly, too forcefully. But I also think there's a danger with only focusing on the police in action that we forget 19 kids died. Obviously, I don't know the exact number. It's a very strong chance 9 or 10 of them initially died right away in terms of he fired 100 rounds within 2 minutes. Now, that doesn't mean like shot and died instantly, but the first shots of the bulk of the kids that were shot happened right away before this inaction. And that could only happen through an AR-15, high capacity magazines, all that. And I don't see that much in the coverage. You see kind of in the media, the TikTok on, the Republicans are already basically signaling they'll do nothing. Democrats, how will this affect November? But you don't actually see a lot of coverage on the fact that, yes, the police certainly messed up. There's a good chance several children could have been saved if they would have went in there, not stood out because they didn't hear gunshots, but you should have been trying to get through there because kids could be bleeding out. But to me, that is frustrating because whatever you think, and obviously people are on different sides of this, most of these shootings, an AR-15 is used, high capacity and magazines. He purchased 375 rounds. So the reality is the bulk of the actual kids that were hit and the teachers were likely hit very quickly. And as the 911 calls that came in, they heard shots 1 or 2 other times. So I don't know your thoughts on that, but I don't really see the media focused as much on the gun issue here.
No, I'll tell you one of the things that, I'm like the wrong guy when I don't have any interest in guns at all. I've never owned a gun, never won a gun. Guns do nothing for me. They don't make me feel more of a man. I just have no interest in guns at all. And for my own purposes, because God knows if I got angry, I don't want to even have the hint of a gun nearby me. So I've kept guns out of my home. That's my choice. That's how I live. But one thing I will tell you as an IT professional, 3D modeling, 3D printing is a very real thing. You can buy an AR-15, you can buy an AK-47 print for your 3D printer, and it will produce a plastic pin. You can put a metal pin in there and you've got a fully functional, fully automatic AK-47 made out of your 3D printer. And so the gun groups, the gun lobby, the gun people that love their guns, they don't require a gun store. They don't require a manufacturer. They have an entire black market waiting to happen. They have people that manufacture their own bullets. They've got people that modify bullets, modify weapons, create all sorts of stuff in their own home without even requiring a permit or requiring anything. So the idea of the legal purchase process, going into a gun store, buying things and so forth, being the focus, I imagine most people that would simply go into a gun store and do the things by proper procedure are probably most likely not the ones that we're worried about. I'm very concerned about what happens in, you look at when alcohol prohibition occurred, and you think to yourself, man, there was a huge thriving speakeasy market for alcohol. Whenever we ban things in this country, it always has a black market waiting to happen. And until we're ready to really police those sorts of things, I think it's one of those, it sounds like the right answer to the problem. My concern is that those same people already have, and believe me, I talk to them. I live in a state that is very much gun friendly, that everybody loves their guns. They literally set the calendar to hunting season. Every aspect of their lives are centered around guns, the flag, you name it. And I know for a fact that the 3D printing, you could have whatever kind of weapon you want printed right there without any problem. And it's not even hard to do, and it's not even hard to get. And I think that this is probably something that we should really seriously consider looking into, because I can tell you right now, I know a lot of people that are willing to go there and have already gone there. They're making all kinds of different weapons, bazookas, you name it. 3D printing is real.
Right.
And doesn't require a gun shop, doesn't require a permit, doesn't require anything. It's terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is the type of thing that, I hate to use the word incremental because I'm kind of against that politically. But at this point, I think you address what's staring you in the face. The Texas governor changed the law for purchase from 21 to 18. I don't think anyone should be able to purchase at a gun store an AR-15. I mean, I just spoke with a veteran today who said that these weapons are not meant for anything other than killing people, as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. So I say that federally, let the gun nuts go wild. That should be a target, at least removing, people up to 21 from purchasing these. To me, then you broaden whether these weapons should be limited, particularly the high capacity ammunition. Because even without an AR-15, you could do add-ons and things like that to other guns to be able to shoot incredibly large number of bullets very quickly, even if it's not an AR-15. And yeah, I say address those things. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's black markets for everything, and that would have to be addressed. But to me, you go down the list. I saw a tweet the other day. I mean, literally the last 15 mass shootings, an AR-15 was used. So that's my take. But broader than that, whatever you think the most immediate thing that needs to be done is, whether it's guns. I mean, my thoughts on mental health is other countries have mental health problems, but they don't have more guns than people. I think the guns is one of the number one issues here. We can talk about mental health, but you're not going to eradicate mental health. A bigger thing about our society is these things happen in America and will be off the front page and will be out of the media probably in the next few days. That's why it continues happening. And that's why there's never any follow-up as to actually pressuring politicians to do something, because the masses have become kind of numb to this and kind of move on to the next thing, which I just want to show you this. McConnell on guns in Kentucky as bipartisan talks continue today among senators. It seems to me there are two broad categories that underscore the problem: mental illness and school safety. So that's McConnell basically signaling, yeah, the only thing we'll even consider doing, and we might not even do this, is money for school safety, which isn't going to do a lot of anything unless you have literally cops stationed at every school in America with bazooka guns, which I don't think they're going to do. They're not going to fund that. And again, the mental health talking point. So I bring this up because literally what the Republicans and right-wing media are hoping for, this couldn't have happened at a better time in their view, because you had Memorial Day weekend. So there is less urgency to do something as more time passes, and that's what they bank on. That's what the NRA banks on, which is, yeah, couple days right after it's going to be really bad. We'll have the same discussion. Is this time different? And then in 2 weeks, nobody's talking. I mean, literally before this happened, Buffalo, where 10 black people were murdered, was already off the news. So to me, that's the bigger problem, and it's really about. Part of our societal rot is our rotten media that normalizes these things. And if this happened in the UK, Australia, other countries, there would be nothing else covered, probably for weeks, if not months. So that's our media. That's why we have Status Coup.
it's also our libertarian mindset. I mean, this country is filled to the hilt with right-wing libertarians, and these people, they lack apathy. I mean, lack empathy all the way. They're full of apathy as it pertains to individuals, and this mindset has been going on for a long time. I mean, be ready. I mean, these people that own these guns, they have bunkers. They're not doing this haphazardly. This kid that grabbed it, whatever he did, however he did it, there are people literally with hundreds and hundreds of guns buried in like underground shelters, people that have stockpiled weapons and ammo, you name it. I mean, like a full arsenal in their property. No joke. I think that people underestimate what is really going on. It goes beyond the casual gun purchase. There are people that are literally ready, and it isn't the left, it's the right, that are ready for a civil war. And they've been planning, they've been prepping, and they've got their shit together, right, for all the wrong reasons, but they've got them. And to me, I think this is the bigger powder keg that's brewing beneath the surface than these random one-off, shooters. I think that there's a real underlying horrible gun culture that goes beyond guns. It really comes down to selfishness and fear and the prepper mindset. And this is pervasive. And I'm telling you right now, if any of you all live in a right-wing area, you live in an area where every Ford F-150 has a U.S. flag on the back, and every F-150 has a gun rack in the back, and they've got the red, white, and blue sticker of the deer and everything else. I'm telling you right now, you ain't seen nothing yet. These random shootings are horrible. They're wicked. They're wild. But there's an underlying problem way deeper, way bigger than I think these one-off shootings. I hope you guys have a chance to look into this, because I assure you it terrifies the hell out of me. Of all the things, that truly terrifies the hell out of me.
And speaking of fear and selfishness, that's a good segue. And smash the like button. We got 340 people watching. By the way, we usually save this to the end, but I want to make sure people know Steve is on Real Progressives, so make sure to subscribe to Real Progress in Action. That's his YouTube channel. They do great work there that the rest of the media ignores. Real Progress in Action. Make sure you subscribe to their channel. They got a lot of great content all the time. Now, so if you haven't noticed, the airlines, which the airline industry is one of the biggest industries in America. That's why, as part of COVID, before we bailed out actual human beings, the government bailed out the airlines, right? So the airline industry is big. There were mass layoffs in the airline industry at the beginning of this pandemic, and the airlines got bailed out. And as part of those layoffs, you had a lot of flight attendants laid off, pilots laid off, support staff laid off, et cetera, et cetera. Then we found out that, oh boy, there seems to be quite a flurry of airline CEOs really begging the Capitalist Defense Center, the CDC, the Capitalism Defense Center, the CDC, to change its rules to basically abandon science and just say, hey, if you have COVID, you only have to wait 5 days to isolate. Even though testing is different for everybody, everybody's different. Some people, they're negative after 5 days. Some people, they are still positive after 12 days. And what they did was basically allow people to come back to work and spread the virus to coworkers and, flight people who take flights, customers. So now we're seeing, Steve, a pretty big pilot shortage, which is leading to, say it with me, fly at your own fucking risk airlines. You think I'm being funny, but that's basically what we're dealing with. U.S. airlines are so desperate for pilots, they are dropping some requirements and considering cutting training hours to get more pilots flying sooner. Here we go. As the pilot shortage continues to rock the airline industry, carriers are struggling to fulfill their flight schedules, and some are even trying to reduce required training hours to get more pilots in the air. On May 13th, Alaska Airlines CEO apologized in a YouTube video for continued flight cancellation that had been plaguing the carrier. Minucci blamed the pilot shortage, saying, quote, "We had 63 fewer pilots than what we had planned for when we built our schedule, which causes a ripple effect. By the time we caught this error, April and May schedules were bid on by our pilots and flight attendants, making it impossible to sufficiently adjust schedules to avoid cancellations. Seattle-based carrier is just one example of airlines struggling to find enough pilots to handle the busy post-pandemic travel surge. Gotta love how they've declared it post-pandemic, as we have a massive spike right now in cases in the Northeast, and now it's spreading in the South. According to Bloomberg, Delta Airlines, American Airlines, and United Airlines have cut regional flying in recent months due to the shortage, with United grounding 100 regional planes. And then let's move on to that progressive Senator Lindsey Graham. In addition to reduced training and education requirements, Senator Lindsey Graham could propose a bill that will increase the mandatory pilot retirement age from 65 to 67. Airline Weekly reported the move would be an attempted fix to the shortage, allowing pilots to stay on with their company. So, Steve, I call bullshit on this. I don't really know many multi-billion-dollar companies that have mass flight cancellations because of a scheduling fuck up. That doesn't sound believable to me. You and I were talking off air about this. I mean, we won't get into details, but we have a source with one of these airlines basically saying, yeah, no, there's a shit ton of people out with COVID. And there's the policy for this airline essentially is to dock you points for every time you call in with COVID. So that's just one major airline. So if that's happening with flight attendants, it's not like pilots don't get sick too. So how much of this is COVID is not totally resulting in, not all the pilot shortage is due to actual people sick, but COVID in general has caused a massive shortage. And the airline's response is, I mean, obviously they're not letting like a guy at a hot dog stand fly the plane, but I don't know. I think you want the most training possible if you're getting on an airline. I think you want people with all their faculties, not to say 67-year-olds don't have their faculties, but this is not an area where you want to cut corners flying.
No, so, I do have a very good friend who is high up in the union of one of the major airlines, and he spoke at length with me offline. I sent some key points over for this discussion. One of the most important things somebody's asking in the chat, and rightfully so, why is there a shortage of pilots? And so for a long, long time, they have known this day was coming. There's a hard cutoff. You must retire by the age of 65. That's why they're talking about extending it to 67. However, they've known for a very long time that they were going to run out of pilots. And the problem is that people are like in the junior varsity down in the local regional flying. And before they get crap for pay, the pay that they get, diminishes in between, like all the time they're spending. It's not like they get to bill out one consistent rate. They get a bill for flying, or a rate for flying, a rate for going between planes, a rate for sleepovers. They got rates all over the place, and translates down to one of the guys said some of the regional pilots are as low as like $9 an hour. And so they have known for a very, very long time that the age, the mandatory retirement age was going to crush them. They also understand that there is a huge lead time in terms of training that has to be maintained constantly to be able to keep your pilot license, and even for attendants as well as people that work on the planes. They have stringent requirements that they've got to keep so many hours up, so many training, and if they lapse, they've got to work really, really hard. It takes a long time to get yourself back to where you're fit to fly. So they've known this for a very, very long time. Shit pay, shit conditions, the mandatory retirement age, and the fact that the people, the bench, are not willing to sit around in the regional zones and just wait for an opening up top. So what ends up happening is they quit and they move on and they go on to something else, or they get old and retire. And literally this is the problem. Companies, if you did any business training, you should have known, guys, American, United, all you airlines out there should know unequivocally that in a downturn, that is when you restock, reload, train, get ready for the next upload. You always, always, always take that downturn to train your staff to get them ready to rock and roll to handle the next boom. And they didn't do that. They tried to be lean and mean. They cut people. And quite frankly, it's coming back to bite them. It's a huge racket. And I can't imagine, being stuck on that kind of local regional flying and have such shitty conditions. It's no wonder they're quitting, and it's no wonder that they can't retain them because they have a mandatory cutoff at 65. So that's what's happening.
Right. And Colin, that PDF that I sent you, I just want to read from this part. This is bullet number 4. But this was a letter the flight attendants Association of Professional Flight Attendants said to Schumer during the pandemic, early on in the pandemic. Due to our company's punitive attendance policy, our members are afraid to call in sick and instead go to work out of fear of disciplinary action, potentially spreading the virus to their coworkers and passengers. Our industry is currently overstaffed, so there's no reason why even potentially sick flight attendants should leave their homes. There ought to be no considerations other than public safety when deciding if we are fit to come to work. While testing is scarce, we must take these proper precautions to curb the spread of the virus. So, bottom line, I don't want to get into a whole COVID discussion because there's a lot of people who, it's like, earmuffs and blah, 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 like COVID's over, even though it's not. I mean, if you actually look close enough, the whole idea that, this whole like Omicron and all their subvariants are mild. I mean, it might be mild for a good portion of people. For a lot of people, it's causing long-term disability. And we're not talking about older people. We're talking about people in their 30s, 40s. There's more data now coming out about long COVID. So I agree with you that the airlines industry, particularly the corporations, screwed themselves. But to me, the fact of the matter that you have these airlines basically making it a penalty, and it's not just airlines, by the way, other corporations have done this kind of underground, making it a penalty if you call in sick with COVID and docking you to the point of termination. That's just going to continue to spread this far and wide, including it's not going to be seasonal anymore. It's not going to be like, all right, we expect it to get really bad in the fall and winter. It's going to be year round. I mean, Delta spread heavily during the summer in 2021. And we know that these subvariants now, which we're probably going to see a big spike because of Memorial Day, everyone getting together. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer. All I know is the airlines, like most of corporate America, has totally disregarded worker safety and their own customer safety. And I understand people need to fly. People need to get places. But to me, the compromise was wearing a mask on a plane. And since that's been gone, I mean, you're going to see a lot more of this, a lot more of flight attendant shortages. Obviously, it's not all because people are sick. You listed a lot of the reasons for the pilot shortage, but the continued spread of COVID, airlines play a big part, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. There's a lady in the comments here, and I think it's actually worth bringing up here for a second, if you don't mind. Her name is Diane Pomula, is at 531, and she says they have a certain amount of hours to get hired by a major airline. They get more hours by flying the regional to make it to a major airline. She worked for a major airline for 40 years. That's a very important point. That's all part of that credentialism. They have to have so many hours of flying, and by reducing those standards, I mean, I'm not an expert in terms of training pilots and setting regulatory standards and stuff like that. But that seems like a very important aspect to this that we didn't state, that I think, I really want to give a shout out to Diane for putting her expertise on the line there. Absolutely.
And by the way, when we talk about unionization, and, obviously Status Coup covered the Amazon workers trying to unionize for over a year. We've covered the Starbucks workers and their fight to unionize. To be clear, one of the unsung heroes of the labor movement is Sarah Nelson with the flight attendants. She's the head of the flight attendants union, and flight attendant workers are some of the most underpaid, hardest worker, and frankly, abused workers in America. People have this kind of fantasy, flight attendants, you get to fly all over the place. How cool, blah, 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 blah. It's really hard work. And there's a lot of abuse pre-COVID from asshole passengers. And a lot of, I mean, you don't really have like a set normal schedule, a lot of holiday work, that kind of thing. And then you add in, I mean, if they are literally on planes, I mean, a lot of them aren't wearing masks themselves, but obviously there's a higher risk if you're a flight attendant of getting COVID, repeat infections, bringing it home to your family. So, you know, I'm just saying, I do not feel so great now that they are basically making it like, yeah, we'll shave off like that extra few weeks of pilot training. Yeah, maybe we'll move it up to 67 in a few years if we need to, 80. I mean, I'm being comical, but that extra training, even if it might be, you know, one extra class or one extra, could make the difference if you're flying in, you know, not great weather, you know, things like that. So this is not good. I'm not telling people not to fly, but people should know they're skirting the experience level.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw my socialist credentials out. We should be nationalizing the damn airline industry. We shouldn't be privatizing it. The reason why we have these problems is because they're living and dying on ticket prices. When the federal government could take it over right now, run it, the cost would be irrelevant to everybody else, and the safety could become number one. Our government sucks right now, so it's kind of you know, but it doesn't have to suck, right? I mean, the idea of allowing this to ride on the idea of profit and making decisions based on profit, when you have extreme need for a focus on safety, makes no sense to me whatsoever. I mean, this is either a national need, and I'm not sure it is, but it's either a national need or it's not, and there's just too much riding on it to keep allowing it to constantly be subsidized, revived, subsidized by the federal government, and instead of just taking the damn thing over and making it lean and mean. And when I say lean and mean, I'm not talking about cutting things. I mean making it go without all the bullshit, the capitalist bullshit that drives for profit. Freaking just make the damn thing national and be done.
Hallelujah. And by the way, we haven't even mentioned, what do you think they're going to be
Yes,
canceling?
more government. I am a big C, baby. Don't even worry about it. S, you big S, capital S, central planning. I'm all that. Yes, bring it on. Yes, absolutely. Don't even worry about it.
You know what we haven't discussed? Obviously, they're not going to keep canceling hundreds of flights. At some point, they're just going to be like, "Hey, Pilot Rick, you got another 3 in you? You got another 3 in you today? You got
another
that
with EMTs right now. They've got I'm not going to mention his name, but there's a gentleman that's probably watching this right now that is put on 36-hour shifts driving goddamn ambulances. I mean, 36-hour shifts. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, man, capitalism blows. It's just a real big, you know, it's a bullet in the head, man. It really is. It's a bad deal. We should be doing everything we can to friggin' stop this.
By the way, I left out, Colin, I sent you this. This is a tweet from the White House. Do you have that that tweet I sent you? Oh, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says there's no update on whether the administration will lift its rule requiring the international travelers to test negative for COVID 1 day before returning to the U.S. Reports came out over the weekend that that's the next one they're going to drop. I mean, at this point, since we're not doing anything domestically to test people or, you know, anything like that, it's just for show that you have to test. I think it's a good thing that you have to test to come in the country. But since we're letting it run roughshod in the country, I don't really see the fucking point, to tell you the truth. But yeah, they've really pretty much just done away with any COVID measures. Biden has also acted like I'm stuck with Congress, even though he has emergency powers through executive action for a healthcare emergency to take executive action for this funding, for testing, vaccines, et cetera, et cetera. He won't use it. Just like Ralph Nader pointed out, he also has executive authority to take over the patents from Moderna, from Pfizer, because the government basically funded it anyway, their research, so that we could finally stop variants from growing all over the world, because the variants are breeding, unfortunately, in other countries that are very, very under-vaccinated. But Moderna, Pfizer, and the other criminal cartel members of Big Pharma won't share the damn fucking formula. They have the factories ready in a lot of these countries and the manufacturing capacity ready. They don't have the formula. They've literally, in a lot of these other countries, been basically trying to like just, you know, jigsaw and like figure out what the formula is. That's how rotten neoliberalism is globally, that during a pandemic, profit still ruled everything. Because what is Bill Gates and these other rich people? They'll get the best care if they get COVID. Their families will get the best care if they get COVID. If other people have to die around the world, if it keeps swirling around, new variant after new variant, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, we should be spending hundreds of billions, more money than we're sending to Ukraine, on funding for a universal vaccine that could address current variants and potentially new variants that pop up. There's not a ton of funding for that either. So anything else before we move on?
Yes, let's talk about that for just a second. My father died September 15th, 2016 from a extremely rare disease called progressive supranuclear palsy. Dudley Moore died from it. It's akin to ALS. It's akin to Parkinson's, except it lethally just starts closing off parts of your brain. That just dies all of a sudden right there. Parts of you die, just stops happening. And this is the kind of thing that will never, ever in a billion years be profitable to cure or even really treat, because the problem is there's so few of it. So there's no ROI on this. Okay. So as long as you're staking your hopes and dreams on a COVID vaccine, universal COVID vaccine, or any of these things on the private sector, you're missing the point. The private sector is only going to try to solve problems that it has a good return on investment, ROI. Okay. It is not going to invest in these sorts of things. So I've been one of the main reasons why I've been driven so goddamn hard in advancing the economics you hear me talk so frequently about is the fact that there's nothing preventing this fucking government from investing as much as it takes to cure cancer, to cure progressive supranuclear palsy, so my father be alive today, and all these other issues that we've got. There's absolutely nothing stopping us from putting the public purpose first other than capitalism. And so I focus my time on destroying neoliberalism. And I want people to know out there, point blank, when I talk about this stuff, I'm not here to take away from anything you care about. I'm here to tell you that neoliberalism is public enemy number one. If that happens to sweep some of your favorite Democrats into it, you're going to have to forgive me for not giving a flying fuck. I am very, very focused on solutions. I don't care about hyperbole. I only care about solutions. And the only place that you can guarantee the resources and the ability to hire people at whatever wage they need to is literally the currency issuing federal government. If we don't stop thinking about markets and, oh, the value of the dollar on the trade market, who the fuck cares about the value of the fucking dollar? Solve the goddamn problems here, invest in what we have to do. Anything that's for sale in US dollars can be purchased, and that means research scientists, STEM, whatever you need to do to invest in making sure we have those things taken care of. We could do it yesterday. We have been hamstrung, stifled completely by an absolute sheer ignorance of how our financial system works. And because of that, we think taxes pay for things. Because of that, we think the country's broke because we think of the country as like mom and pa's piggy bank. The fact is, this country creates the goddamn money it spends. There's nothing, zero, nothing preventing us from solving these problems other than our ignorance of how the monetary system works. And every time you see somebody going out there talking about, oh, they're just printing money, and every time you see them talking about all this nonsense, you're literally putting another nail in my father's coffin, basically, or maybe your father's coffin if he gets progressive supranuclear palsy. This is something that we've got to get our head wrapped around. We've got to stop falling back into bad habits, and we got to start becoming champions, because Jordan's exactly correct. We could have had a universal vaccine without waiting to see if it was going to be Pfizer or Moderna or whoever. Just fucking do the deal, man. Do it. Do it and do it. Stop making us worry about who's making money. Do it. Do the damn thing. And that's my story to the whole world right there.
Well,
do it.
Only way that's going to happen, Steve, is mass revolution against the United Corporations of America. Because the reason it won't happen is because we live in the United Corporations of America. By the way, get your United Corporations of America t-shirt for the summer. I know you're going to be wearing, I'll send you one for free.
That's a decent thing. I'm game for that. Send me one, please.
Colin, do we have it? StatusCoup.com/store. You got to rock your United Corporations of America t-shirt at the beach this summer, tennis, whatever you do, or at your 2 to 3 jobs that you're forced to work and you can't enjoy your summer. But go to StatusCoup.com/store and get the United Corporations of America shirt. And on your off day, then you could wear the Fossil Fuckers shirt. You got the United Corporations of America. You could wear your Fossil Fuckers shirt. It's all wonderful. It's all wonderful. StatusCoup.com/store. Steve, we got to move on to another topic, which gets me going. My wife loves Shark Tank. It's an entertaining show. I've seen it a few times. I don't like to watch on principle because all these entrepreneurs, if you actually look under the hood, got a lot of help from the government. And, a lot of them were born on third base. Some of them, some of the judges on Shark Tank, worked hard and got ahead. I think Mark Cuban actually does some good things. He just created his own pharmaceutical company that's basically selling pharmaceuticals almost at cost, showing kind of how big pharma is juicing up pharmaceutical prices. But Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank, he's Mr. Wonderful. He's the bald guy. He's actually Canadian, so I can't call him, an American criminal. But Kevin O'Leary is out now basically calling it immoral to cancel student loan debt, which I found interesting because all these people that are constantly ranting about a free lunch for the workers, for the proletariat, they're never challenged on the fact that they are grabbing at the government's teat whenever they can. So we're going to look back through Kevin O'Leary's evolution on government handouts here. Let's start with April 2020, what Kevin O'Leary was saying about the PPP small business loan program that, was supposed to bail out small businesses in the pandemic.
A fiduciary responsibility when the government lays out a program to use it, because you have no idea how long this pandemic's going to go for, when or if there'll be therapeutics or a vaccine. You just don't know. And to say that you can give to a franchisee that has less than 500 or whatever the employee count is and not make sure the brain of the franchise business is kept intact, that's the HQ, makes no sense to me whatsoever.
So let me ask you a question. You have lots of different companies, and I wonder how many of them are trying to take the money, and how many of them call you and say, hey, Kevin, you got a lot of money. Can you help me? I'd prefer to take your money than take the government money.
Yes, all of that's happening. First of all, the government money, and you've got to understand the unintended consequence of what that bill said. When it was signed a couple of Fridays ago when we read it, it was clear to me that the government asked you to take a snapshot of your payroll Feb 15th and another snapshot of your payroll on June 30. And if they're both the same or the June 30 number's higher, that loan can be forgiven. It's free helicopter money. So that changed the entire behavior of millions of businesses that were applying for it. And let me tell you the unintended consequence, which I find fascinating. We can't finance the payrolls of these companies during the period we're waiting for the actual check to come because we don't know if it's 5 or 6 or 8 weeks. We have no idea.
So, bottom line, he said you have a fiduciary duty if you're a CEO, big business, to try to get that PPP money. I mean, if you're Walmart, fiduciary duty. If you're Amazon, fiduciary duty. You would be basically screwing your shareholders if you didn't try to get that money. Okay, let's now play August 2020. Still real bad in the pandemic. August 2020. What his views after he said you got to go for that PPP program money.
Started this PPP program months and months and months ago. There was a lot we didn't know that we know now. And the American economy is going through a revolution, a digital transformation. There are going to be many, many winners and many, many losers. And at the end of the day, the one thing John and I can agree on is during this transition, we're going to displace a lot of employees, a lot of workers. We should support them, but let the actual change, this dynamic change occur, happen on its own and let the market be the market. I am, as you know, a huge advocate of small business. I have over 50 companies, small businesses that are private, I've invested in. At least 20 to 25% of them are going to fail because the world has changed on them. Consumers have changed. The way they buy things have changed. Where they go has changed. And we don't yet know what the world looks like on the other side of this pandemic. Assuming it's going back to what it was is an incorrect assumption, because many things are going to be more efficient. And we can't pick the winners and losers anymore. That's what's changed in my mind over the last 5 months. I am a huge advocate for giving somewhere between $400 and $450 to employees, extending the unemployment, and then letting the market do price discovery on what it should fund and what it shouldn't. There's so many businesses that got money in the first PPP that shouldn't have got it at all, because they are essentially zombie companies. They will never be successful. They will never be liquid. The world has changed on them. Why should I, as a taxpayer, fund that? Why not let the private markets come and support those that deserve it, and let the others die as they do and should, because those assets will go through bankruptcy and be redeployed efficiently. I don't want to spend any more money guessing on winners and losers, because Congress can't. There's nobody that can. Only the market can. And John knows that, and he has to admit that no one can pick winners and losers. Why should taxpayers be forced into these crammed down fundings? Makes no sense at all to me. And I'm an advocate for small business.
John, your response?
I'm speechless. First of all, I have enormous respect for Kevin and what he's accomplished. I find it interesting, I wasn't going to mention it, but 10% of the businesses that he started got PPP. I mean, 5 of his own companies 3 months ago got PPP loans. You can't just say we want affirmative action for rich people and everybody else is on your own. That is not the way it works. You can't. We are rearranging the deck chairs of the Titanic here.
My favorite part of that is when, sorry, I forgot his name, but when the other guest is basically calling him a fucking, greedy, hypocritical asshole, being diplomatic about it. I highly respect you, but you got your money and now you're calling for the end of this program? His face is like a lizard. It doesn't move. No shame, no nothing. Kevin O'Leary. Okay, so we've established he got his money, 10% of his companies. He's worth $400 million, so I'm pretty sure his companies didn't need a cent from the government. By the way, he's Canadian, but he didn't need PPP money for his companies. Colin, let's play the next clip where he's giving us more of a fucking lecture on, the digital, everything's moving to digital, blah, 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 blah.
Cash sitting around because I've been exiting other sectors. Where do I put it? I'm putting it back into Microsoft, putting it back into Facebook. Why? That's what's working. Not just for the momentum, if you want to invest on that basis. I don't. That's where money is being spent in this digital pivot. Right. I can now say with the...
You can come out now.
I've got enough focus.
So he's taking the money that he stole from actual small businesses that should have got that money, and he's investing it in Apple, Amazon, whatever. You see how that works? Kevin O'Leary, and it's not just him, by the way. This PPP program was it was a bank robbery. And a lot of corporations and scum like Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, literal sharks, stole that money. And it should have went to mom and pop businesses like my parents own a jewelry store. They got PPP money, but boy, were they fucking means tested. And, it was a real struggle to get that money. And they didn't even get the maximum of what they should have gotten. The list goes on, mom and pop, small restaurants, et cetera, et cetera. Kevin O'Leary basically stole that money because he's connected and, a multimillionaire. Now, Steve, I see your face about to drop, so wait for this clip. Now, Kevin O'Leary, who stole money from small businesses, then is morally preening on, let the free market decide. Apparently, he's got strong thoughts about potential student debt cancellation, which isn't even going to happen. We're going to get a means-tested $10,000 of cancellation. Let's take a look at what he thinks of that.
Think about the plan for student loan forgiveness.
Becky, I'm trying to find merit in this proposed policy, and I can't. This is policy born in hell, and I'll tell you why. Nobody wins. What do you say to people for generations now that have realized, like everybody does, that education is not a right, it's a privilege. You make a decision as a young adult to pursue an education for a wide range of reasons, including advancing yourself in your career and your salary, et cetera. And that's proven to work. But you take on responsibilities, including student debt. So what do you tell people, generations past, that have actually paid back their debt? How about the people that are working so hard to get scholarships, to excel? What do you tell them? Don't bother, it's free. How about the people that never had the opportunity to go to college? About 12% of the population has student debt. The other 88% have to pay for them. And then think about the politics of this. And this is what I find so extraordinary. Average salary in America, $58,000, depending on regions. You're telling these people this is a big problem. Meanwhile, you can't fill up your car. Chicken costs 48% more. And this is at the top of the agenda for the president. Can you imagine? This is
all right. Enough. I don't want anyone to vomit. I don't want anyone to get violent.
I'm there. It's too late, man.
But hey, we talk a lot about the media, the marketing and branding for Shark Tank on ABC, which is an entertaining show. He's kind of the villain of the show, but they make these folks out to be, entrepreneurs. They did it the American way, the American dream. They worked hard and got ahead. I mean, that's just one example. I'm sure if I looked hard enough, we'd find all sorts of government handouts Mr. Wonderful has gotten. What are your thoughts? Because apparently he's got a different standard for who should get government help and who shouldn't.
I'm literally ready to vomit. I'm enraged. I'm not just enraged at him, but there's an individual who is promoting some of the most psychotic economics, non-economics, fraud economics, which is what we're spending our entire lives trying to destroy. And this nonsense of the private Federal Reserve and its taxpayer dollars and all this other crap. I'm telling you right now, there is no more ridiculous, stupid concept than the idea that they're spending taxpayer dollars. Okay. First things first, taxes. I swear to God, I'm telling you, I have to keep my eyes off the screen so I don't see these moronic comments from this one individual. But the fact is that taxes literally do not pay for spending. Those taxes are literally brought in, they're deleted, and that's it. That's done. They're done. You're not wasting anyone's tax dollars. Okay. We're not getting nearly enough services for the amount of tax that we are paying. Okay. And so when this jackass, both in the comments and this idiot O'Leary, when these kinds of people sit there and try to put this taxpayer thing up, this is what Margaret Thatcher, fucking the worst of the neoliberals, which is like the guy in the comments that's talking about it is taxpayer dollars. Fuck you. That's not true at all. Okay. That's number one. Number two, it's like Ronald Reagan. There is no public money. There's only taxpayer dollars. Another fuck you, right? That right there. These are the sick, perverse, neoliberal trailer trash piles of shit that fucking send me off. Literally, of all the things I'd be willing to lay my life down for, is to take that shit out. I'm not joking. I'm willing to go down for the cause. I'm willing to take one for that one. I'm so disgusted by the whole taxpayer dollar myth, the lie, the printing money lie. And this jackass is up there taking printed money, as he would say, loser, taking money from these public-private partnership loans, these PPP loans, okay? And literally trying to then tell you that you're stealing from taxpayers. Number one, can you imagine a person that has been in chattel slavery for however their whole life, and then all of a sudden someone comes through and tells them, we're going to end chattel slavery? Can you imagine that person going, oh, well, how come I had to serve 20 years a slave? Why are they able to not be a slave now? Hell no. We got to keep chattel slavery intact because, after all, someone else was beaten with a whip. Why shouldn't everybody should be beaten with a whip? We should never get rid of it. It's such bullshit. I despise the sick, right-wing, disgusting, disgraceful, psychotic economic lie that is constant. I'm serious. This is the thing that bakes my bread, fucking pisses me off to no extent. You're seeing Steve explode right now.
I'm just
10 years.
I'm just texting our guy and saying, get this on TikTok ASAP.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, the idea, first things first, the federal government, Article 1, Section 8 of your U.S. Constitution gave the power of the purse to the fucking Congress. Okay? That means the power to tax and the power to spend. The public purpose, period. The United States government, its Congress, went ahead in 1913 and wrote a bill farming out creating a central bank, the Federal Reserve. Some loopy fucking lizard brains can't get over this shit. The entire Federal Reserve is nothing more than a goddamn spreadsheet with a bunch of polished up people with ties and shit that make you feel good as they say they're going to jack interest rates up. They control interest rates. They control interbanking dollars. They control the reserves that travel from bank to bank. They don't lend that shit out. Reserves never make it to the public place. But the United States government gave banks charters. Banks are operating with a U.S. government legal document, a charter to operate. If those banks don't follow those rules, we are supposed to have an apparatus that controls Wall Street and stops the bad shit that they do. We don't. Why? Because we've underfunded it. Why? Because sick, disgusting people want a government small enough that you can drown it in a bathtub. Okay. And so what ends up happening? You end up having Wall Street go crazy. You have banks go fucking nuts instead of serving the original charter that they were given. All this stuff is a matter of law, but they have deregulated everything to the point where we've got this bastard fucking octopus shithead thing going on here. And it's time for us to wake up because you cannot fix this if you don't stare the devil in the eye. I'm telling you. So much crap that's said here is kill. This is not just like some difference of opinion. People are literally dying over these lies. If you think about our healthcare, why don't we have healthcare? We don't have healthcare because some asshole thinks that it's taxpayer dollars. His taxpayer dollars are going to pay for your abortion. So no, we got to do away with everything because some dickhead thinks that we're going to go ahead and spend taxpayer dollars. This whole concept has got to be done. We got to get rid of it. No more of this federal taxpayer dollars shit. It's killing you. It's killing our kids. It's killing our fucking planet. If we did not leave shit to the private sector, the banks wouldn't be giving out money because the federal government would be spending it on us. Do you understand? Instead of it being, that's what he wants. This jackass O'Leary is sitting there telling you, hey, we shouldn't be letting the government do it. You should be having to borrow it from me so I can earn profit off of your loan. That's what he's saying. Do you understand? There's an alternative. The federal government can spend this stuff on us. Instead of it constantly being on the military industrial complex, instead of it being these PPP loans, these fucking jackbooted thugs, these capitalist pigs. I'm telling you right now, folks, this is the most important subject you can ever learn. It's more important than anything because it is the key to the Green New Deal. It's a key to your Medicare for all. It's a key to everything. Climate change, fixing the shit. It's a key to solving poverty. It's the key, period. And instead, people blow it off like it's some boring fucking thing. It is the most important thing. There is nothing more important than this. Nothing. And I swear to God, if you don't understand what I'm saying right now, then you don't understand anything I've ever said, because this is what keeps me awake at night, wakes me up in the morning, keeps me moving every single day of my life, 24/7, begging my team at Real Progressives to get their ass in gear and start working. Stop checking out. Do the fucking work. I'm serious. This is the most important thing, and people are dying because we don't have this knowledge. And if we did have this knowledge, if everybody really understood it, we would be out in the streets making demands, and they wouldn't be getting away with this shit. But we don't, and that's the problem. We don't. Time to change. Sorry.
Well, I'll say a few things. Don't have a heart attack, first of all. But as a reminder, if you don't know, some people asked, you could see these kind of truth bombs and occasional rants at Real Progressives. It's Real Progress in Action on YouTube. So go subscribe. Real Progress in Action. The website's realprogressives.org. You got to watch them. There's a lot of other fluff on YouTube, hot takes, this and that. He's actually ranting about real things. But something you said stood out to me as the most important discussion. Who perpetuates this myth? Politicians, media. Frankly, one of Bernie's top economists on the Senate Budget Committee is Stephanie Kelton. She's, I don't know, the mother of modern monetary theory. If Mosley is the
Mosler,
father.
yes. Yep.
She's the what you're talking about is MMT, modern monetary theory. Bernie is advised on by a modern monetary theory expert. She's written books, op-eds in the New York Times. He didn't talk about it. Maybe he said, you know what? There's only a certain line I could go to until the media is going to really crucify me. But he had a giant perch during the campaigns. I'm not trying to unfairly criticize him, but he could have said, we don't need to talk about taxes. The government has all the money in the world. What do you think? FDR covered the New Deal with taxes? Of course not. But I'm with you because to me, the root of there's two major issues. Money and politics is at the root of all. So even if people understood modern monetary theory and we knew actually all this bullshit about like, oh, how do we pay for it, this and that, and like, how are we going to pay for healthcare? Even if people knew that, they still wouldn't implement these theories. They still wouldn't implement this reality that the government, Alan Greenspan just said, Ben Bernanke, the former Fed chair, literally said, oh yeah, we just kind of move a decimal. That's how we pay for things. We don't actually print the money. You just kind of move things in the computer. But the reality is, Steve, until we get money out of politics, we're never going to actually implement modern monetary theory principles or be able to expose fucks like Kevin O'Leary because they own the system.
I want you, Colin, if you'll do me a solid, if you'll do me this solid, I want you to just seriously take a second. It's a very, very short video. And I want you all to hear what is an unfortunate but honest actual statement from, and I'll put it in the private chat for you. This is Alan Greenspan talking to Paul Ryan. And for everybody, I want you to hear this, please. This is so important. I don't want to let this moment go that we just had here. Take a look at this. And you're exactly right. All federal spending is 100% MMT. And same with the military industrial complex. Why you never see us raise taxes to fund the military ever. But if you'll take that video right there, this is Alan Greenspan being taken to task by Paul Ryan. As Paul Ryan asked him, wouldn't it be make Social Security more solvent if we gave people private retirement accounts? And listen to Greenspan, who actually can't. It's like, I don't know how to tell a lie. I got to tell the truth, which is this guy's an asshole. He's one of the worst purveyors of neoliberalism in the world. But he accidentally says the right thing here. I want you to hear him. And Paul Ryan shrivels up like an old man in ice cold water. Take a look at this. Go ahead, Colin.
So having personal retirement accounts is another way of making future retiree benefits more secure for their retirement. And also, do you believe that personal retirement accounts as a component to a system of solvency does help improve solvency? Because when you have a personal retirement account policy, it's accompanied with a benefit offset. With that feature in place, do you believe that personal retirement accounts can help us achieve solvency for the system and make those future retiree benefits more secure?
Well, I wouldn't say that the pay-as-you-go benefits are insecure in the sense that there's nothing to prevent the federal government from creating as much money as it wants to somebody. The question is, how do you set up a system which assures that the real assets are created, which those benefits are employed to purchase?
Right there. Very important. Very, very important. Because what he just said right there was point blank. We have to have the real resource. Nothing to stop us from creating as much money as we need to do whatever the hell we need, as long as the real resources are there. Well, what did we see during this pandemic? And what are we experiencing right now? We're experiencing gouging on one hand, and we're experiencing an extreme supply side shock. Okay, so the very thing that Paul Ryan was asking Alan Greenspan from way back when, sitting there answering you, The reason is a lack of supply. It's driving this. And this is one of the keys when you listen to MMTers talk. It's not just about the money. The question becomes, how do you resource the project? It's same for Medicare for All. You need doctors, you need nurses, you need hospitals. How would you resource college? You need to make sure you have the learning platform, whether it be online, in class, whatever. You got to make sure you have the real resources. This is very, very important stuff, folks. So when you hear about why aren't we doing these things, you've got a plan for them. And there you got right there, Alan Greenspan took old schoolboy Paul Ryan to the woodshed and whooped his ass publicly for all to see. And I will forever love that little teeny scene that most people probably just flies right by him. But for me, that right there is the winner chicken dinner.
And you should be having that in your Let's Get Ready to Grumble program each time.
Yes.
As a fixed video, for sure. But moral of the story, aside from Steve's really award-winning rant, which we're going to clip on its own, is we are run by sociopaths, greed, media that then elevates these sociopaths into entrepreneurs, and the world goes round and spins around. The truth is, there's I lived in New York City during the pandemic. There's whole stretches of blocks just closed down storefronts, closed down businesses that never reopened. And a lot of them are still closed. Kevin O'Leary is not the only one. There's a lot of corporations that looted that piggy bank of the PPP program. And also with the PPP program, in addition to the rental relief program, you know how many people got letters that they have to pay money back that after they were approved for rental relief or after they were approved for a PPP program? It's interesting that only happens with working people rather than oil companies, Wall Street banks. They never, when they get free money, they rarely have to pay it back. The banks repaid the bailout money from 2008, 2009. Yeah, if you actually look into it, it was more like almost $30 trillion that was doled out. They maybe paid back half of that, if that. So it's always the working people. But the bottom line is CNBC elevates people like Kevin O'Leary, ABC that broadcasts Shark Tank, which, is an entertaining show. And there's a lot of good people that pitch cool ideas that get money funded by these people. But they, what did Martin Luther King say? Socialism for thee. Or I don't know the exact quote.
Socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for everyone else. Or
correct.
Something to that effect.
Correct. We're paraphrasing. So that's what's going on in the United Corporations of America. And it goes back to the simple proposition, which we've talked about. All of these things, whether healthcare, climate, education, all of these, Black Lives Matter, Indigenous, all of these different movements, we're not getting anywhere until people come together in some type of economic action, whether it's a general strike, whether you call it something else. Maybe the impetus for that will be the coming recession, because it's coming. There will be a recession. There were more rose-colored glasses stuff that came out today about April and May. The job numbers are good. There's still more openings than people to fill. GDP, blah 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 blah. You look at most people, we have multiple bubbles here.
Let me jump in there for something real quick. One of the things that I think is really important is to understand. I've talked about this a bunch of times. Pretend like the United States. This is a bad analogy at some level, but it's good enough for making the point. If you consider the United States a bathtub, okay, and the water in the tub is only the economy. That's the economy. And there's a drain at the bottom, okay? The drain at the bottom is taxes. It's offshoring. It is, what we call demand leakages, aka you and I saving money. Anything that takes money out of the economy, taxes delete money out of the economy. But there's only 3 ways to get money back into the bathtub. One of them is being a net exporter. In other words, we're exporting a bunch of goods and services, but that's not really a big deal. Why? Because we create the money. So it's not like we're jonesing for the money. Okay. Federal government could fill that in while we take care of infrastructure and things like that. Okay. But currently, you got the government that could fill the bucket with that. The other way to do that is private debt, which you see the gentleman that's always talking about private money, private this, private that. The reason why people are taking on private debt is because the federal government has stopped spending money. Okay. Once the government turns off the spigot, then all of a sudden the economy only has the drain at the bottom because our country is a net importing nation. So we are a net importer, meaning we're losing money out of the drain, not losing money, but we're spending money on or imports. Okay. So that money goes to another country. It goes out the drain. We tax that money goes out the drain. The government stops spending it. Okay. We're not a net importer or exporter, so we don't get money coming from there. We cut the government spigot off. That leaves us one thing: private debt. So as long as we're willing to do what we did during Brother Bill Clinton's era, which is take on massive amounts of private debt, okay? And then all of a sudden, when he was leaving office, you'll never hear me compliment W ever, other than this one sort of time, and it's not even a compliment. But when Bubba balanced the budget and created the surplus, that took money out of that bathtub, okay? And he created the conditions from which the first recession that Bush walked into suffered from. Okay. So when you understand that, you understand inherently that if the government isn't spending money into the economy and we are not net bringing in money from our, exports, that leaves us with private debt. And you and I might be able to get another $1,000 on a credit card somewhere. But after that, I'm going to be shut off, capped off, done. So that money won't be coming in. Now, all of a sudden, all that's happening is that bathtub is lowering down because the drain at the bottom. They're raising interest rates up. That money's leaving too. It's going up to the rich who keep it up in the fire sector, circling around up in the investor grade bullshit. Okay. So just remember, a recession, it could very easily not look like a recession on paper because Wall Street could be kicking ass because all that money is fluctuating up at the top. Okay. But down on Main Street, you and I, that money isn't going around. If you look at jobs out there, I was so excited thinking, oh, look, new jobs coming up because the economy, people are looking for. No, they are not paying people shit. In fact, the pay is even scaled back some. So be very, very aware of the rosy numbers that you see out there, because if money isn't being spent into the economy, the only way it's happening is in private debt. You taking out a loan to pay your electric bill, you taking out a loan to pay for something else, or you got somebody said, hey, take out this loan, and you say, why not? Now all of a sudden you've maxed out yourself, and once that cap is hit, boy, oh boy, that's when the bottom falls out. We've got asset bubbles on the real estate side. We've got all kinds of shit going on, folks. Do not get comfortable. Prepare. Think about this. The problem is I tell you to think about that and tell you to save your money. By saving money, you end up starting the problem. You start creating the recessionary conditions. So just beware. Just know sectoral balances, which is something nerds talk about like myself, right? Sectoral balances means three things: public spending, private debt, and balance of trade. That's it. That's what sectoral balances means. No big deal. You just need to know, is the government spending? If it's not, well, you can't count on that money coming in. Are we a net exporter, meaning we're sending goods around, getting money from that? Nope, we're not getting it from there. That leaves us with one thing. That's private debt. You want to know when private debt goes boom, when the economy goes boom? There you have it. That's your economy in a nutshell.
Number one idea for you, for real progressives, you got to make a grumpy Monday shirt. Some pun off of grumpy because it would do very well. I want to read super chats because I know you need to go. Double K 40.99. Thank you very much. Melissa Thorpe 49.99. Thank you. Gene 9.99. Did you all hear that the police chief was placed on the city council in a closed session yesterday? Yes, this police chief who apparently thought it was no longer an active shooter because he didn't hear shooting. Let's not think about that. Children were probably bleeding out while you weren't hearing shooting. He was elected to the city council locally before the shooting and was in the dead of night sworn in. So yeah, maybe you want to consider whether he should be on city council. Gene 9.99. Did you? Oh, I just read that. Elisa $5. Maybe placing armed military staff at schools instead of locking doors like Handmaid's Tale. Revoke ARs from dealers, private owners. Ban all guns. I'm kind of with you. I don't think you can ban all guns, but to me, you're either going to be afraid to poke the bear that is half of the country or just rip the Band-Aid off. To me, you need to ban some of these guns. It won't totally eliminate the problem. Like Steve said, there are black markets, 3D printing. Handle that after the fact. There's no reason citizens 18 or 58 should have AR-15s, in my opinion. Tony Dallas, $5. Is there any room for requiring high school kids to enroll in junior ROTC? Switzerland has national conscription, getting people training and disciplined. Yeah, I don't want us, pushing students into the military. That's what junior ROTC is. So is there room? Yes. But do I want that? No. I mean, ROTC is a good program for a lot of students that couldn't otherwise afford college, but it only further adds, stream to the military pipeline, getting more, mostly poor people, poor black and white students into the military. VA, $10. We need a national health service, period. If the citizens' health isn't prioritized, we're lost. Correct. And as part of that it's very funny, Steve, seeing Texas Governor Abbott, all these fucking Republicans, the NRA, mental health. We can't have universal health care because part of Bernie's Medicare for All plan was a huge expansion in mental health services. If you want to see a good therapist these days, be prepared to pay, if you're lucky, $200 a session. If you're lucky. Most places, it's more than that. I won't name names, but a friend of mine told me how much he's paying for marriage counseling. I mean, that's enough reason to get a divorce, just being able to afford marriage counseling. Tony Dallas, $5. Oh, I just read that. $5. Is there a role for digital currency on the state level to cure the currency user issue for the states? Digital dollar can be structured in many ways. Steve?
There's all sorts of complementary currency type things, but none of them would do the level of that we need to be done. If you check out our Macro and Cheese episode called Unis, there is a effort up, and it's a partnership with Cornell and what is that? SUNY, New York.
Yeah.
That they're working on developing a university style parallel currency to help in the local community, to provide food and things like that for people on the campus, to help local businesses. And they all agree to take this, and it is an opportunity. It's complicated, and I'm not going to say it's wrong because I support it, but it's not something you just wave your hand and it's done. It requires more than just saying, hey, we could do this. It requires the magnet, or the carrot and the stick, if you will. The thing with currency, any currency, is it not only anybody can make a currency, it's up to somebody to be willing to accept it. And that's what the tax in the United States does, is it drives our acceptance of that currency. That's why you accept that for payment for your paycheck. And ultimately, you can't pay your taxes in anything but the US dollar. So these local currencies, there's some issues there. And I know that if you listen to that Scott Ferguson and Ben Wilson, great legal and academic minds that have been working diligently on the same with Bob Hockett and Rowan Gray, who I've had on here with me at Status Coup before as well. I'll try and bring a lot of them through here because they're all brilliant people, supersonically brilliant people. And maybe I'll do a complimentary currency episode for Let's Get Ready to Grumble.
Absolutely. Let me get the rest of them. Double K and another 19. Double K, God bless you. You're always supporting us. Another 1999. Thank you. VA from New York, $5. Dr. King used to quote the poet James R. Lowell, truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. I never heard that before, but that is quite accurate and poetic. Carrie Nanstead, $20 tip. It is true this inflation crap is utterly ridiculous and they are getting away with it. Still problems with baby formula. They cannot even solve that. By the way, now on the East Coast, I don't know about you, Steve, but in the tri-state area here, it's about $5 a gallon right now for gas. So
I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm not too far out of that tri-state. I'm right below Jersey, and we are definitely dealing with 467 to 495 in that range.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. And
we have the highest gas taxes though at the state level. Pennsylvania has the highest per gallon tax, but what do states do? They're currency users. They have to tax to find a way. And my God, the battle in Pennsylvania for tax dollars because of the way that they do things here. I mean, they're funding fucking schools with fracking. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Actually, they're probably fracking right under the schools, so don't worry about it. Double K, another $49.99. Thank you so much. VA from New York, $10. National Day of Action for Medicare for All, July 30th in DC. Be there. I'm not sure I'll be there because I have a torn ACL, but I'll try and get somebody to be there. Bren, $1.99. What's the best book on modern monetary theory, Steve?
I missed that. I'm sorry.
What's the best book on modern monetary theory?
Man, there's some really good ones out there. I found Warren Mosler's 7 Deadly Innocent Frauds, which you can download for free from his website, from our website. If you go to realprogressives.org, you can get Warren Mosler's 7 Deadly Innocent Frauds. The other one is Stephanie Kelton's book, The Deficit Myth. It has turned a lot of people into MMTers that would have never thought themselves MMTers. And then I would say, if you're really interested in understanding some of the stuff that I'm really pushing, Bill Mitchell wrote a book called Reclaiming the State, and he talks about MMT neoliberalism and understanding the power structure that's fighting this. So 3 great books, 3 great authors, 3 very, very intelligent people that understand the way the world works. So definitely check them out. And come to our website and get our go to our bookstore too.
Absolutely. Kathy, $20. Thank you. Kamori, 20. I don't know that currency, but 20. From Mexico with love. Thank you very much. Love, Mexico. I was there for my brother's bachelor party. I'd love to go back. Shane, $4.99. For anyone looking for a good reading list about MMT, please visit the Real Progressives website. So there you go, realprogressives.org/RP bookshelf. Thank you guys so much. Steve, thank you very much. By the way, Let's Get Ready to Grumble with Steve is now going to be Thursdays at 8 o'clock. So prime time, 8 o'clock, right here on the Status Coup. So are you doing tomorrow? I don't know.
Well, we've got a great one where I interview Fadl Kaboub on Green New Deal and how we've forgotten that the environment's burning up, by the way. So
yes. So we'll have that tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 o'clock. By the way, call out. I put this on Twitter. Call out. I'd like to do more interviews on organizing. So if you're organizing right now at your workplace, if you're organizing right now with a tenants union, if you're organizing right now with the fucking PTA, I don't care what it is, local organizing, whatever you're doing, let's make it sexy. I want to interview you because that's the only way right now. You got extremists, wannabe fascist Republicans. You got a neoliberal fucking 1995 country club Republicans. As Democrats, we're fucked. So we need to spotlight organizing. I want to interview people, and I want the reaction, if we do it well, to be like, oh, I didn't realize that's going on in my town or my city or my state. And now I know how to get involved. And even if it's not in your town, maybe it'll give you ideas if you hear from people that I interview on creating it yourself. Because there's a lot of great tenant unions fighting slumlords and criminal fucking real estate developers. I'm talking to one in Portland, Maine, actually tomorrow, that they just successfully did that. LA, they just successfully stopped evictions. So definitely, if you are organizing anything, whether it's your workplace, housing, climate, whatever it is, info@statuscoup.com. Email us your story and we'll get back to you. My DMs are open on Twitter @Jordan Chariton. Anything else? By the way, again, repeated, Real Progress in Action is the YouTube channel. Go subscribe. That's where Steve is. You also have a podcast. Pimp your stuff.
Cheese. Yep.
Yes.
Well, before we go there, I just want to say something. The difference between Jordan and I, aside from just the fact that he's probably better looking and younger, is the fact that what we do at RP is not just the news. We're actually a nonprofit. And so we have a 501c3 that is a education platform where we work with academics. We try and get this information out about policy, about MMT, and the environment. We have 7 knowledge areas of it. Very important. We need help over there. This is there's nothing competitive. It's like we're taking the stuff we talk about here, and then we're trying to put the boots to the ground over there. But then we have real progress in action, and we do a lot of our videos over there because it's a 501c4 where we'd like to organize. We'd like to gather with people and work together to create these very things. So if you're interested in helping me out, again, we are desperate for volunteers as much as anything, and definitely looking for people that are interested in rolling up their sleeves and getting some work done. So anyway, that's it. Macro and Cheese is the podcast every Saturday morning. 8 a.m. it's released. You can see it anytime you want, listen to it anytime you want. And then I do a video show Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Real Progress in Action called The Rogue Scholar. You'll see it as TRS. There I am in cartoon form. And so please check it out. I try and be as lively as I can because I know this stuff is sort of boring. And so I try to bring a little flavor to the mix just so that it sticks, because this is important stuff. So, Jordan, thank you very much for giving me the vine, brother.
Don't bring too much flavor. I mean, I love your outbursts, but I'm worried about your health. So don't bring too much flavor. We want medium seasoning with occasional spice.
Just send me maximum sativa and we'll solve it all right there, man.
There you go. Thank you, Steve. Thank you to the audience. By the way, if you guys, you could go if you have to, Steve. If you guys
take care, everybody.
If you guys don't know, Status Coup is kind of like cool now. We're on TikTok. Colin, if you could come on for a second, because I don't want to fuck it up. How do people, I'm kind of old for 35. How do people get on TikTok and follow us? We're at Status Coup on TikTok.
Yeah, just at Status Coup. If you search for us, you'll find us. If you have the app or whatever. That's pretty much all there is to it. We're at Status Coup.
And Louis DeAngelis, who's been doing some great reporting for us. He was in Uvalde for us, so definitely check out his videos. His Twitter handle is in the description of those videos. But Louis has really been growing us on the TikTok. A video that we just shot, John Farina, a freelancer, shot this footage for us. Already has 260,000 views on TikTok, and we're now at almost 16,000 followers on TikTok. So TikTok is a whole untapped audience. We're not gonna try to do super low, super dumb little viral videos. But it's awesome that some of our content got 250, almost 260,000 views on TikTok. Let's show you that clip that shows a great grandfather from Uvalde who tragically lost his daughter, his great granddaughter in the massacre there. He honestly is just so heartbroken that he basically was almost literally asked police, just shoot me, I don't care, and called out police. His name, just so I have it for you, is Ruben Mata, who lost his 10-year-old great-granddaughter, Alexandria Rubio. Let's play part of this clip.
Put me down, come on. It didn't take you but a few minutes. Oh, no, wait. I'm going to show you something. You know what I'm going to show you? No, wait. Wait. I got a knife. No. Who you got now? I'm not going to kill nobody. But I got a knife. Let's see how brave y'all are. Where's your guns? I can't be with a knife. Do not put your hands on it. You're not doing nothing. So, Brian, are you doing it? Go ahead. Put me down. Come here. I'm a Marine Corps. Yeah. I lost my job. Come here. Where's that policeman? Right there. There's my great-granddaughter. Where were you people when she was there at the trash in the room?
So that's just part of it. The full video is up on this channel. The full video, I think, is like 8 or 9 minutes. It's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. 19 children and the 2 teachers. And you have from great-grandfathers to grandfathers to parents to siblings. Their lives are destroyed. And as I told you last week, it's probably going to be out of the news in a couple days, and you're already starting to see less coverage of it because in America, 19 kids could be murdered by a bazooka gun, and then the media moves on in a few days. They'll still cover it here and there, but it'll be out of the news probably in a day or two in terms of the majority of coverage about it. And the coverage that you're seeing is about the police incompetence or cover-up, not as much about the AR-15 that killed most of these kids early on. The shooter fired 100 rounds within the first 2 minutes of being locked in that classroom. Like I said, that has almost 260,000 views on TikTok. So the goal, we're going to try to grow on TikTok, format some of our content for TikTok, because obviously the TikTok viewer likes things or generally gravitates to shorter content. So we're going to try to take some of our content, into bite-sized little snack flavor for TikTok. And hopefully, as we grow on TikTok, bring people over to the YouTube channel. We already have almost 16,000 followers on TikTok. We've only been posting there for a few weeks. So if we could keep growing that TikTok channel, as of now, it seems to be the least suppressed social platform. That could change. So hopefully we can grow it on TikTok and bring people over to the YouTube channel. So if you're new here from TikTok, subscribe to this channel. And yeah, welcome. Click all notifications, all that. We also have content up from the NRA convention where John Farina, who shot that footage that we just showed you, he's an independent journalist, video journalist. He's the one that got the incredible footage from the Capitol on January 6th of the officer's head rammed into the door. That he shot that footage for us. He got that footage. He also got great footage from the NRA convention. So that's all up on the channel. Definitely check it out. And that's all we got. So we will be back at it tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern. And thank you for watching. Take care.